Set me up for failure.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Joe Kelin, morning.
Hump day.
Humming, singing.
Humming, singing, air drumming, air guitaring.
You see all what I deal with.
Yeah. What you get to deal with. Say. Now you have to say all day long. Say. Listen, kid, say. I make you need a smoke. You gotta be around Kelin, say.
What do you want to talk about first?
What was I gonna? Oh, I was watching a little bit yesterday. You know what we need to do one day?
What's that? What's that?
What's that?
Let me
say?
ask my cigar.
See here, say. What we need to do is, when you guys were talking about the, lovely complimentary comments we get on so many of our videos, have you ever seen when celebrities read mean tweets about themselves?
Yeah.
Have you ever watched that?
Oh, yeah.
We need to collect a whole bunch of mean comments about our podcast and just read them one day. Those things are hilarious when people do that.
I'll do it.
Oh, I saw RFK Jr. did that one time on Instagram. So freaking funny. I love it. We'll do it. Go ahead.
Okay, we'll do that.
I like it. See, I like it. That's gold. That's solid gold. Yes.
Do that again.
I've never smoked a cigar. I don't know if I've never smoked a cigarette. Not much of a smoker.
Well,
is it fun? Is it good?
So the nicotine content in a cigar is off the charts. It is so much nicotine.
Yikes.
And what do you mean yikes?
Yeah. Just
Are you afraid of nicotine?
Doesn't sound like a good thing.
No, it's a very good thing. Your brain just comes to life when you smoke a cigar. That's why the best deals are done over a cigar and a brandy.
Cigar and a brandy.
Yeah, we're not doing a cigar and a brandy, and I come up with good ideas.
But I guess if you have too much, then don't you sort of have buyer's remorse once you come off of that? Or you're like, oh my God, I was so hopped up on nicotine.
Cigar. That's all you got to do. Why are you smoking another cigar?
Have you ever had a few drinks and done or said something, and when it wears off, you're like, I should not have done or said that?
No.
Oh, because that never happens to anyone.
Never. Nobody has remorse from alcohol or cigars.
Never. It's not a thing. Not a thing.
What are you going to talk about?
I don't know. That's all I got.
Supreme Court. Want to do that one first? Because that was the most controversial thing that happened yesterday.
I don't think I heard about what happened yesterday.
Well, let's talk about it because it's important. There's a couple of different things that happened yesterday that had, unbiased, just observers. So we had the ACLU attorneys go before the Supreme Court, and they are arguing for transgender transgender girls. I don't know how this works. To be able to compete in sports. And you have 5 justices who are of right mind, and you have a couple of justices who are totally certifiably insane. And that's what we saw yesterday.
Insane or
captured?
Yes.
Captured.
Yes, that's the word I'm looking for.
Synonymous. Same thing.
Okay.
So here's basically the Supreme Court is there to interpret the Constitution to see if anything that comes before the Supreme Court is justified, legal, and whatnot. So you make your arguments before the Supreme Court. And this is one that had to happen, right? And so the ACLU, those attorneys today, the day after, have to be drinking and smoking cigars profusely.
Or brandy.
Totally, brandy.
Listen, we got a great idea. It's going to be an amazing idea.
All right. So the argument was the Supreme Justice Alito, I believe, asked for a clear definition of in Title IX, what is a boy or girl, man or woman? And the ACLU attorney said, I don't have a definition for you now, right? If you listen to the arguments, you're presenting in front of a prestigious set of judges, in a courtroom, that bring your shit to the table. If you're going to make your argument, make it your best, right? This is your time. And if I'm going to make a law, so let's just change it. Let's take the political angle out of it. Let's just say the justices were in front of the finance industry, right? And the finance industry was arguing for interest rates. And the financial industry was like, listen, we want to charge higher interest rates. And the justices say, like, can you give me the definition of what an interest rate is? And the arguing attorney says, I don't have a clear definition for what a interest rate is. What would you expect as a typical American if the lawyer doesn't have a definition to be able to see if it's congruent with the Constitution?
I'd say, then what the heck are we doing
Freaking
here?
Dismissed, right?
Yeah.
Come back when you have an adequate, definition.
Yeah.
We can compare it to the Constitution.
We're not going to sit here and waste our time.
Right.
Arguing over different definitions of something.
But for an ACLU attorney to be able to say that I don't have a definition for you today, right, should be a game ender. And so I expect going forward that the Supreme Court, does not make any alterations to current law to include boys that decided to take some hormones or make some body modifications to be able to compete against girls. That's my prediction.
Do you think they did that to buy them more time, or they're just ill-equipped?
ACLU?
Yeah.
No, it's a rough position to be able to defend. And so it's really hard because there's nuance to it. There's activism involved. And when you present activism to a court and they just are dealing in math, like your sole hope is the three justices that have not as many neurons as the other ones to be able to buy into it and say, yeah, you know what, that nuance, that freaking matters. Like interest rates cannot be defined. It's completely subjective. And if you think an interest rate is something that you want to pay, that's sort of like in your purview. But there are reasonable justices who will say, this is insanity and go away and don't bring this to us until you're really serious about having a definition of what a girl, boy, man, woman actually is.
Otherwise, what are we even talking about?
Exactly.
I've seen some of these debates. Have you heard some answers when these people are asked, what's a man, what's a woman?
Yeah. Matt Walsh did a great documentary.
Did a whole documentary
on what is a woman. And it is not crystal clear, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is not legally or mathematically definable to a point where it's like, trust me, bro, like I know what a man and a woman is, and whatever I feel like I am is what I am. And if I make alterations and a couple of, hormones or surgeries, that I can claim to be something that biologically, provably, and scientifically I am not. That is.
Yeah, I've heard people say
position.
It's whatever I choose it to be.
Right.
And they're like, no.
Yeah. No other legal argument. No other legal argument. So let's just say you're a billionaire, Kelin the billionaire. You have a ton of claimable income, right? And you go before the Supreme Court and say, listen, I think I'm justified because I am not a billionaire, right? I am a thousandaire. I decided that my income mathematically says I'm a thousandaire and I should pay taxes when I feel and believe to be true.
Yeah.
Supreme Court's going to say, dude, this is an unserious debate.
Wasn't there someone a few years ago, I can't remember who she was exactly, but she was in hot water for claiming she was African American and she wasn't, like Rachel something. Do you remember this?
No.
This was in I don't know if it was a representative of some sort or what her position was. I don't remember. But she was talking about being either biracial or African American. And I think that's what she was claiming because it became a big deal. And everyone's like, no, you're not. Don't claim to be. Don't act like you're like us. Don't act like you get any other privileges because you're not. And a lot of times people will bring that up when they're like, well, I'm a woman. No, you're not. If she can't be whatever she wants to be, you don't get to be whatever you want to be.
But why would you not? If there's a benefit in claiming that you are something and you go fetch the benefit, all you have to do is claim some kind of unscientific, irrational, unmathematical thing, why would you not do it? So if I said, you got your $100 bills on the table outside, all you have to do is be desperate for money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so like you expect people that are desperate for money being able to say, just bring some, some stuff that proves that you're desperate for money. You think there's going to be anybody who's not desperate for money that wants to qualify for your $100 bills?
Yeah.
Of course, there's a benefit in being able to claim. So if I'm a male and I'm superior physically to a woman and I can compete in a sport where I can dominate, why would I not? Why would I not bring the thing? Look, I took estrogen, right? I should totally be able to join the female rugby team and dominate and win a gold medal. Why would you not do that?
I would even entertain the idea of a discussion. If someone came up and said, I understand, I was born a male. I have male reproductive organs. I have a male biology. I fully realize the fact that I am choosing to live as though I am female while biologically still male. And here's why I think you should still let me into these sports. Go ahead. This to me says you can be a rational thinking human being, and I'll listen to your points, and maybe you've got some good points. But if they show up stating, even though I was born biologically with these parts and this biological makeup, I am a woman, I don't know then if we can enter this discussion, because I feel as though you're not rationally thinking and maybe have some sort of mental health issue. So it's like,
no, it's not mental health issue. It's literally saying that if you have
or you're lying.
A trough of benefit, that you will go after that trough. So okay, let's change this framing. Let's use the NBA, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you use the logic of the left, that the NBA should be representative of the athletes that are in the larger, demographic of the United States. Okay, do you think there are more NBA players that are Black versus Asian, American, Native American? Do you think the percentage of Black players, right, versus the actual demographic of people who watch the NBA? So if we should be representative, like if it's 68%, 70% of the people who love basketball, should basketball represent that 70% of the players be represented on the court? If you use the logic of the left, then it should be a 1-for-1. 70% of the players should be a white person. Now, what would be detrimental to the game if I started including the demographics of the people who are interested in NBA basketball to be represented on the court? Would it be better basketball or worse basketball?
It'd be worse if you're putting them in there just because they're the demographics.
Right. Underrepresented, 5'10" is the average of the people who are watching. They want to see people like them on that court, right? So if you have a 5'10" white guy on the court, do you think it's going to be as good of basketball as if just the best players that can play the game best are represented?
I'm pretty sure the 5'10" fans would rather see a 5'1" amazing skilled player more than a 5'10" oof that can't do anything, can't dribble, is losing all the games. Yeah, it's skill and talent and merit.
If you take the logic and you roll it out in all environments, right? We disagree with most of those environments. So on the Supreme Court, like there's 9 guys, 9 women, right? That represent people who are really good at comparing what's happening to what's allowable by the Constitution. All right. Mm-hmm. Think NBA there. So who would be your best? Are there 3 people that are on the court right now that are brain numbed, right? That are not good at making objective considerations and comparisons to what the Constitution says versus what should be happening? You would take 3 people and you'd be like, get them freaking out of there.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I was gonna say, am I going to need to know about basketball for this? Because I don't. But
yeah, the deal is that basketball and NFL and sports know how to just put the best players that win games, right? They know it.
Yeah.
And so we should be looking at institutions that do it right and then formulate institutions that are getting it way wrong and using those models to be able to correct our society and saying, let's not do any more of the thing that's stupid. But we can't do that because we are made up of stupid voters, stupid legislators, stupid justices, stupid judges, right? And we have so much stupid that is consolidated in our institutions. We do a lot of dumb things.
Stupid, manipulated, captured,
corrupt.
Yes, corrupt. I'm just waiting. Well, Carter says Elizabeth Warren claimed to be Indian heritage. I don't remember that really, but
come on, you don't remember that?
It sounds familiar. I just don't remember the details about
someone claiming a 0.0002% heritage to get jobs and money.
Was she trying to get something with it?
She was a professor. She got professorships because she claimed that she had Native American heritage, even though that it was a decimal point of Native American heritage.
I have a decimal point of Native American. Can I get stuff?
Absolutely. And if you claimed it, again, there's a trough of benefit for Native American heritage. So if you have 0, you're out of luck. But if you have 0.002, you can be a professor and be in the institution of Congress.
Do you have to prove it somehow?
Oh, you can take a genealogy test that proves that you're 0.002.
I've heard there's Cherokee somewhere in our bloodline.
Right.
Where are my benefits?
You just haven't tried hard enough to claim what's due to you. But anyway, that's the total insanity of this whole transgender thing. And I've got nothing against people who just want to do their own thing, and I want to leave them alone, and I want them to leave me alone. The problem is that they've kind of crossed the border, like in the 2024 season. Mm-hmm. They were really, they were the minority of population, but yet they wielded a ton of political advantage. Like everybody was willing to listen to see how transgender wants to do swimming and, beat everybody by 9 seconds, right? We felt like that was a righting of a wrong historically. And we've kind of like normalized a little bit. And if you don't credit Trump for anything, it's that reasonable nature of just have the merit speak for whatever it is, right and wrong, whatever it is. We can appreciate more things that are just rather than unjust. And we've had, since these 3 political seasons, we have seen things that absolutely make no sense get public support by the minority, but be louder than anything that was in the majority.
Yeah, and I actually don't feel, not talking about it from the general public's viewpoint, but when we are talking about the leaders, the people in government, you look like the dog. What's that dog? What was he from?
Conan?
Is that what it is? Yeah. Conan had the dog with the cigar in his mouth?
Absolutely.
Oh my God, you're going to start drooling.
Yeah, come on, bring it.
The people in government, I don't think it's them being stupid. I think it's them being captured and them being manipulative. Because I just recently saw a video online. It was how often past Democrats, past presidents and representatives have said in a speech, in a public forum, what have you, exactly what the right is saying right now about border control, immigration, about men and women's sports, about housing for illegals, about all these different things. They have said, from Chuck Schumer to Obama to Joe Biden, the exact same things, Hillary Clinton, that the current administration is saying. And because the current administration is now saying it, because they're the ones in office at the moment, they have changed their tune. And now they're saying the exact opposite. And that to me says all of you are captured and spewing whatever rhetoric your voters want to hear. And you don't actually believe it. And all you're doing is trying to get back in power by giving them what they want, knowing it's not right and it doesn't make sense. And I'm not saying only one side does that. I'm saying that's right now, because right now the right happens to be in office and the left is fighting for it. So the left is saying more things that don't make sense because they only say the things that make sense when they already have the power and the control and the ability to make things change. And when you're trying to get that, you're going to say and do whatever you need to do to get it.
But there's a desperation that it evolves out of this. You're seeing your voters, right, kicked out of the country, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're seeing your NGOs and, perfectly aligned financing corrupt scheme eroding. Like, if you're a Democrat, you're really pissed off right now because the people that preceded you had a really good plan for making sure that you can get voted in. You scam elections, right, and create controversies within real elections, whether or not it be showing that you're a real person to be able to vote, to having votes be able to be filled out en masse by activists that are doing canvassing.
Mm-hmm.
You have NGOs that are filtering so much money to Democrat candidates. You watch all of the pillars that made you even remotely electable just being eroded by law, order, and justice. And so you have to take the position that you have to defend these things. So if you had 40,000 voters that you imported for Somalia and gave them a bunch of benefits so that they would vote for you, and you watch those people go away, you're scared if you're a candidate that would never have gotten elected had it not been for the fraud that you created and the corruption that you created that made that happen. So I fear for the Democrats because I don't want, total capitalist, total Republican rule. That's not how our balanced system is intended to work. It means that you pursue legitimate means of pleading your case. You do a good job of being able to appeal to normal voters, and you do it legitimately. And if you have bad ideas, you lose, and if you have good ideas, you win. But we skewed that, and we made a corrupt version of that. And that's, when foreign countries, like I'm a nationalist. I really love my country, but when Russia or the UK, they condemn us for certain things, I can't disagree with them, and I don't want to disagree with them. If they say that your Congress is basically built of a bunch of pedophiles who've corrupted the system, how do you argue against that when you too would argue that your Congress is built up of a bunch of pedophiles who are protected from the Epstein Island controversy? 0 people have been outed for participating, and I know a bunch more than 0 have been involved. Yeah. So you can't disagree with that. And I want one day, maybe by the time my kid is an adult, for us to say, like, we might have our blemishes, we might have, some downside, but at least we're honest about who we are.
I mean, that would be ideal, to have them say we're honest about who we are and why we're doing things. Like, if the left says, hey, we actually don't want these people out of the country because we need their votes, and so we're letting them in illegally to get more votes. And maybe the right would say, hey, you know what? I don't know if we're that concerned about the safety of Americans, but we just want them out because we know you're going to use them for votes. Wouldn't it be nice if everything was just completely transparent? In
a perfect world, in that utopia. And that's why I say we're doomed, is because we're on the trajectory. Let's just say you ran a youth soccer league, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if your team, Kelin's Bandits, that's what I'm going to call them.
Kelin's Bandits.
Yeah. If you lose the game legitimately, right, you just didn't score enough goals. You have 2 options. Practice harder and be good legitimately, where you outskill, outcoach, outperform your opponent, versus you have other options, right? You can imprison your opponent. You can make sure that people go to jail. You can weaponize your ability to, take positions off of the field, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can give yourself an advantage that is unsure, like it's a girls team, because Kelin being the coach, it's obviously a women's team, and you can incorporate and bring some boys in there, and all the boys have to say is that they're girls, and now you win. It's important to you that you win, right? But you chose the path of illegitimately getting an advantage.
Yeah. No integrity, playing dirty,
right?
Whatever means necessary.
Yeah. In the
It's
game of
shady.
politics, when it's rewarded, it happens more.
Yeah, in the game of politics, it's now expected. We look the other way because what are we going to do? And so what do you do? Find a dirtier way to play.
Right.
Find another way to then manipulate their manipulation.
So if you were to give advice to a young girl, let's just say a young girl's underrepresented as CEOs or airline pilots, and you want to be like, I want to do this legitimately.
Mm-hmm.
What would you do? What would your strategy be to get a woman in the cockpit? What would you tell them?
I would make the job seem exciting and worthwhile and valuable and encourage them to go try. Not changing what it takes to become a pilot. I'm not changing the grades you need. I'm not changing the qualifications you must meet. I'm simply marketing the position so you want to come be that.
Would you want them to outperform? You as the coach would want them to score 6 goals to your opponent's 5. And that's how you make the team, is scoring goals, right? It's a mathematical certainty there. If you can score more goals than them, then you're a better soccer player, right? And you will perform and play better, right?
Yeah.
So as a pilot, it's like, okay, I have studied what pilots are, and here's how you can be better than that. Here's how you can sell yourself, where they will choose you over the male pilot.
Yeah, I don't want you to sell yourself into the position. I want you to be able to do the job well.
But if you sell yourself, you're actually giving legitimate arguments about how the passengers, the people who are experiencing your deal, get a better value for what they're doing. It's safe, you're competent, you give better value, you give better service, and the people that experience you will have given a better benefit than the male pilot you're taking the place.
I mean, there is a benefit in selling yourself based off of what's true,
legit,
what you actually hold. I hold these credentials.
Right.
I got them the right way. I am the right person for the job, and let me make sure you know that, rather than I got to sell myself and make you like me because I got nothing to back it up.
Right. That's legit.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of times my husband was in the military, and he was in an elite unit of the military, and there are no females because it's incredibly difficult to get in. If a female got in on merit, that would be sweet. That would be cool as hell. I'd be like, what a badass chick. Good for you. But if a female got in because you made it easier, they didn't have to do as much, they could modify things, you're going to get her killed.
It's fake.
Yes, it's fake. It's hard for a reason. That's what the job requires. And you're not doing the job if you did a modified version to get it. And
you can ask yourself, on the aggregate, are things worse because of it? If you did a thing, like let's just say, I'm going to give $100,000 of compensation from the federal government to an airline that hires a woman pilot. Well, there's an incentive where I have a financial incentive now to hire a woman pilot. And if it's a 1-for-1, which am I going to choose? If a portion of your salary is going to be covered by the federal government, and you can hit your marks, you can land a plane, you can provide equal service, right? Is it a corrupt version? 1-for-1. All other things were the same. The only advantage is that I'm going to give $100,000 of your salary as a federal compensation to hire you over Bob.
Yeah, that's an advantage. You're skewing it.
Which airline is not going to take advantage of that trough?
I think everybody's going to take advantage of that.
So if you skew the process so that there's massive advantage in doing something, and as long as it's not in the middle part where you're a worse pilot than Bob, but the only reason I'm doing it is because $100,000 of your salary is paid by the federal government. So you cost me like $40,000.
Yeah.
Right? You might be a little worse, but nobody's going to notice. The thing's on autopilot most of the time.
I've known people that work in HR that have said, I have to hire a minority. Now, we're going to interview. We still need somebody that's competent and able to do this position and do this job well. But like you said, if it's this or this and they're both good, I am required to hire a minority.
So the justice is you want to make things fair. So if my kid is applying for college scholarships, and your kid is applying for college scholarships. Do you want anything to get in the way of us being equal competitors and getting that scholarship? Or if there's a scholarship that just applies to women, your kid is going to have an advantage over my kid because he can't even apply for the one that yours is.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, oh, you know the person, so you have an in. Like, that's not fair either.
Right.
So if that's not fair and you can't do that, you can't say, oh, well, they know them or they have an advantage because they donate to their fundraisers or whatever, then why would you be like, oh, well, we're going to get grants and stuff if we hire this person? So
yeah, would you want to live in a complete meritocracy?
I don't know. I don't know what that would entail exactly. Complete meritocracy would be
best person for the job gets hired. Period. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you come from. I don't care what relationships you have. If you are, if I have a position, and this happens in education all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hiring for a position for somebody who works with at-risk youth, right? What do I want when I put the job together? Now, I want the person that can do the job with excellence.
Yeah.
Okay. So should it matter how long you've been there? Should it matter what race you are? Should it matter what gender you are? What if the pre-qualifiers where you had a strict advantage where you can work with the at-risk youth, but you had an advantage over me? Society and taxpayers want to make sure the best person flying the plane, right, is the best of the 50 that you had to choose from. That's what we'd expect as a person who's paying the deal. Well, taxpayers are paying the deal. So when it comes to education, you're like, okay, we're hiring this position for at-risk youth. Bring me in Sharon Stone. That she takes the Bowie knife and she slams it in the desk and she can bring those kids back from the brink of devastation, right? I don't care.
Are you thinking Michelle Pfeiffer?
Oh, fuck. I did that twice. Yes, Michelle Pfeiffer.
Michelle Pfeiffer.
That's a Sharon Stone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They look similar.
Yeah, that's right.
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Damn it. Dangerous Minds, right?
Yeah.
Had the wrong hot blonde.
Yeah.
So anyway, but that's what we'd expect as the person that's paying for the service. So the person sitting in row, B9, is that no B6, right? B6 wants to know that whoever was hired can get them to the destination as quick as possible and has the most skill set. We don't give two shits where your genealogy led you and what color you are or whatever. And so meritocracy basically just has a metric for figuring out how competent you are and hiring you. So what happens if you've been there longer? Should that ever enter into the deal? Like you and I are of equal stature, right? Mm-hmm. We can do the job well, but you've been here longer. Should you get the job or should I get the job?
I could see it mattering in a situation like this. If both are equally skilled.
Yes.
Both are equally competent.
Yes.
Both are equally likable. Both are equally whatever. The exact same ability to do this job. And I have to have a tiebreaker. I have to. Somebody's got to get it and only one of you can. I might look at you've been here longer, i.e., you do technically have more experience here. You both can do it. This person has proven the ability to commit and be loyal and have longevity and a little more experience in this environment than this person does. So if I have to have a tiebreaker, I could see that being considered. Not as a benefit as in, oh, you've been here longer, I like you better. Just as I need something, and that at least shows me that I'm not going to have to hire someone else in 2 weeks.
That wouldn't matter, right? Because any kind of outside force that isn't under your control. So if I was running, I was hiring for a football team and I wanted to staff it, and I had two people who ran a 4-second 100-meter dash, right? Mm-hmm. You're equal. I can't hire both of you. I would go to the rest of my roster and I would probably pick somebody who didn't run that and replace somebody else because I want both of you. If you both are of equal deal, I would go back in history 3 years, find some DEI hire that's chewing on crayons right now get rid of them and bring both of you in.
So you would go fire someone else that
100%.
Is not of their skill set.
Yes.
Get them out and get these two in.
100%.
What if all of them are good? What if you're like, there's nobody I want to fire?
That is an amazing problem, and if we ever get there, that would be great.
And like you're going to have to
I wouldn't
create
care what
a new
race,
job.
gender, whatever. I came across 2 unicorns. Like, I would absolutely get rid of the crayon chewers. Absolutely, 100%.
Crayon chewers. You'd be like, finally, I could get rid of the crayon. What if the crayon chewer was not in the same position? Would you still somehow?
Care. No, I would take skill set over anything else. All right. Julie says, what Dems don't want is the way Trump is going about problems. We don't want slash and burn domestic and foreign policies. But here's the thing. When you there's nothing that he said or did during his campaign that alluded to the fact that he was going to do attrition. He was going to do scalpel type of removers. He literally said that he is going to do,
gangbuster,
everything. Right.
Yeah.
And so you lost Julie and the guy that would have done it through attrition. So if you want to kind of put that sentiment in a box, go elect a Democrat who's going to say, this problem is so small that I can take scalpel type of slices and fix this problem. But the other part, the part that won, made the argument that's so effed up that we're going to have to make huge concessions, huge deals. We're going to have to really go, nuclear option on most of this stuff. And Julie lost in that sentiment, and the gangbuster nuclear option won. So you got to just stomach it, know that you lost, and be able to say, next time, like, I'm going to take how I feel. I think we should do more deliberate. I think we should do more strategic, small movements, right? And then see if the person that you elect, a representative government, means that when you lose, you don't have much say in things, right? You back the person who was terrible and they lost, period. So you don't get to let micromanage and expect the person who won to, sort of like bring their, what do you want to call it? Their momentum down to make it seem like they're doing things your way, kind of thing. You already wouldn't vote for him in the first place, and you didn't vote for him in the first place. So he doesn't have to do anything you want or how you think things should be done. That's how meritocracy works. The best plan wins. And so long that Trump does things that have a product that is better, then more people will vote for them, and you just get to lose again. Maybe you should think about altering your views so that they're more aligned with winning, if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things. You could say a lot of things about Trump that obviously one side does not care for or like, or they think he's doing it wrong or the worst way, whatever. But he won.
That's it.
Because he wasn't doing it the other way.
Yes.
That does say something for what the American people wanted. Now, they may see it carried out and change their minds. They may be like, whoa, I didn't realize it was going to be like this.
If it goes south.
If it goes south, and then which case, you got no issues, the other side will be in power next. If that is in fact the case. What you can't really do is not like it that he won, that the voters are getting what they voted for, and instead of letting it play out and going to, we'll be golden then next time, when you instead amp up, get in the way, cause problems, fight back, then you can't really say it was the administration's fault that everything got so bad. Would it have gotten so bad?
But you have an interest in making it feel that it's so bad.
Exactly.
So you frame it in a way that you don't want it to be a victory. So if we make 40 million people leave this country because of their illegal status, and then things start to correct with social benefits and whatever start to seem good, you don't want that to happen. You're going to paint it in the worst light possible because you're butthurt. You really didn't want what he said to be true and have some kind of effect. So if you can make the job market or the economy or immigration or any of that seem worse than it actually is, I understand why you're doing it, right? But it just doesn't hit with me because you're being inconsistent and dishonest with how your position is.
Yeah. a lot of people did not like the fact that government employees lost their jobs.
Yes, I am very happy that government employees lost their jobs.
This administration went through and they slashed all kinds of jobs and all kinds of people, and there were mass layoffs, and everybody thought that was so cruel and so unnecessary. But guess what's happening right now? The positions that were in fact necessary, that maybe they shouldn't have left, but we needed to do a complete audit, and we needed to stop the bleeding, are now being rehired. My husband just saw online a position, I think it was like for the VA or something. And the job posting said, all previous employees that were laid off have first dibs at this new job. There didn't need to be violence. It didn't need to ramp up and become a worse situation. It wasn't even a permanent situation for them. They are now saying anybody that was wrongfully let go, or maybe we acted too quick, you guys now are able to come back.
And if you don't want to, that's cool. And we'll open it up to people who want that job, because there are lines. Like there was an article I was reading the other day. I believe it was a chicken farm. And it could be anything, corn, whatever, cow, whatever. We're going to say chicken farm for this example. Farm. All right. So there was a company that hired a bunch of illegals to be able to work this chicken farm. And because they were undocumented, you can pay them whatever you want, whatever would then make them show up. So if let's just say it was $5 an hour. Chicken farm benefits because you got cheap labor, someone who's not going to report the cash payments on the books. You get to sell chicken for an advantage because you're using illegal labor, right? Mm-hmm. So we disbanded it, made it not super popular to hire people, making it what was always illegal, an illegal act that lead you to prison. So all of the illegals disappeared, and we're like, oh no, chicken is going to skyrocket. So what happens the day after your illegal workers are no longer allowed, right? You have people who want jobs, and now the farmer has to be like, I can't do the $6 an hour thing anymore. I got to do $15 an hour. So now it pays people who have a line outside of their farm that filled that in. My concern was everything Trump was doing was going to take a really long time to refactor in, right? So it was going to take time for us to reposition legal workers to take the place of illegal workers. And in the case, your labor costs go up because you got to pay a legitimate wage that pays into FICA and pays into federal taxes and all that kind of stuff. So a farmer is going to be like, I got to adapt and got to figure out how to do this. And the liberals were like, well, if you do that, your chicken's going to go up to $12, a pound. And what we saw is the legal labor force came in, filled those positions, and then the companies were like, oh, we can still, sell our chicken at market prices, even with the increased labor costs. They might not make the margins they did before when they were hiring illegals, but it still worked. And now it's a natural, it's not a subsidized, outcome. It is a natural outcome. So if chicken really costs $10 a pound, then fine. We can, I don't think we should intervene and inject unnatural, illegal means just to get costs low. Yeah. If eggs are $2 a dozen, fine. Let's find out what they actually are.
Yeah, you don't just kind of keep breaking something and making it more and more broken, and then you come up with new ways to, I guess, like have a what's the word I'm looking for? You have to put like all these alternate things in place because it's broken.
Yes. Fake things in place.
Yeah, like, oh, it's broken, so instead of fixing it, we're just going to do this. And oh, crap, that's not working anymore. And so now we have to do this. And now we have to do this. It's like, why don't you just fix it instead of all these backstops to make sure that things don't crumble because it's so broken? But the fixing it at this point is going to hurt. And it's going to be messy. And it's not
EVs, for instance. Like we had a $7,500 tax credit if you bought an electric vehicle. So politically, we wanted people to get on electric vehicles. They throw in a catalyst where there's a rebate. If you bought one, they wanted you to do that. And guess what happened? The $7,500 disappeared. $0. So when I was willing to give you almost $10,000 to buy an electric vehicle, you were willing. And now we get rid of that. We find out what the real demand for electric vehicles actually is. Which one was real? Which one should we continue to do?
The real demand.
The real demand. And so if the government wants to put like a 6-month subsidy to get something moving, I'm cool with that. It's a catalyst. It has a very short term But you can't have an electric vehicle market completely subsidized for the government and think that when you look at the electric vehicle sales that they're real and have some kind of like false security in the fact that people really want electric vehicles. So if I'm like, will you go on a date with me? I want to ask you straight up. Do you want a date with me?
What's in it for me? Maybe.
Just
okay.
me and my cigar.
If you don't smoke, I'll go.
Okay. So I have loose interest, but I'm like, Kelin, will you go on a date with me if I give you $10,000? You go on a date with me?
Yeah.
Renewed it. It's a increased interest because I was willing to give you money to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Now, are we dating legitimately or without
or did you bribe me?
The bribery, right?
Yeah.
So which is real? I feel good that I'm dating Kelin, and I want to overcome all of her, me smoking a cigar while, we're relaxing, and she really doesn't like that, or the noise I make when I chew and how I breathe and maybe your cold feet and like all of that I'm willing to overlook because $10,000 buys me a whole lot of Kelin.
Yeah.
Right. So if the electric vehicle market, like the intro to Kelin and Joe, maybe you would have never given me a chance if I wouldn't have given you $10,000 to date me.
That's making me sound like a terrible person, but okay.
But you would. I mean, most people would. Most people would date me if I had $10,000 were in front of them. And I'm cool with that. I'm confident in my ability to buy affection. Right. But it's not real. It really is.
Yeah. Can you imagine back in the days of COVID? When was it Biden that did the what was it? It was like a stimulus.
Yeah, $2,000 checks. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody got this money in an attempt to stimulate the economy, and all these people got free money, and everybody was like, woohoo. So then let's say shortly after that, a new administration comes in, and they're like, okay, COVID's done, people are back to work, things have calmed down, no more money going out. Everyone's like, what an a-hole. I can't believe this administration is taking money from the people. Look at it. They came and they took all of our checks. Are they a-holes that came and stole money from the American people, or did they simply stop what was always meant to be temporary? This wasn't yours forever. This wasn't legit. This was a temporary thing in an attempt to accomplish something at the time, and now it's done. And it would have been ridiculous to then say, oh my gosh, the American people have always had this and you took it from us and now you're the bad person.
Yeah.
Not real.
And that is, everybody knows the cost of doing the inauthentic thing as people get used to inauthenticity being the norm, right? So if you have a raccoon, Kelin has a favorite raccoon that visits her neighborhood, right? You observe the raccoon's kind of cute. But you start
trash panda.
Yeah, you start feeding the raccoon. Now the raccoon is like this. I don't even have to forage through dumpsters and garbage cans. Kelin is my feeder. I now have a dependence on Kelin. So long that Kelin never stops giving me her leftover bratwurst, I'm in good shape.
Yeah.
Now, are you the asshole if one day we're like you baited the raccoon freaking loves you because of your bratwurst? Donations. But one day you're like, no more bratwurst, right?
Yeah.
You have to forage for yourself. Now the raccoon's going to say, you conditioned me to lose a skill set to go and forage through a dumpster. You owe me that bratwurst, right?
Yeah.
So who's the asshole here? Is the trash panda? Is he at fault for taking advantage of the subsidy of the bratwurst? Or are you the asshole for creating an inauthentic food source?
Because even better, I started it and then I took it away. What about I started it and then I moved and somebody else moved into the house and they're like, I'm not giving you
no bratwurst for you. You got to be a trash panda.
Now the new owner is the asshole,
right?
Or is it the person that started this?
That is the danger. If you get the EV market addicted to subsidies, and the only reason that they're in business is because of those subsidies. You have Ultium, like right down the road, right? What happened with Ultium? They produce batteries for the EV market. In the beginning, you can say, hey, the reason we're selling so many EVs is because we're giving everybody $10,000 for these EVs. What happens if the subsidy goes away? Are we selling as many batteries as we do right now? We have massive layoffs in the Altium factory because the subsidy goes away, and then the demand for something that was there. Now, who's the asshole? Is Altium formulating a business model around a never-ending subsidy? That's why I'm such a believer in just what truth is. And if you're going to do something that's untruthful, at least be honest about being untruthful. That's a weird paradigm, right? So if you took your trash panda and you were like, dude, I'm going to give you bratwurst sometimes because I want to see you do, juggle in front of me or whatever. I want to see you do my dance, but I'm not going to always give that to you. So you got to maintain your ability to authentically survive by doing what trash pandas do. And then when I stop doing it, you're just going to be like, oh, okay, well, the subsidy's done and I need to go over that. But once you create a dependence where the EV market or welfare recipients or Minnesota daycares have the free money coming in, and they never considered the day that they would not be given what they should be in a meritocracy going and competing for, that's where we go wrong.
Derek says Rachel Dolezal. Oh, that's the Rachel. I don't know how to say that last name. Fresh off of stepping down and head of the Spokane NAACP chapter over criticism that she's portrayed herself as black, even though she was born white. That's who that was. I knew it was Rachel something.
But I will tell you, you don't have to be black to advocate for black, right? If there was a white dude who completely understood the historical nature of how blacks have had a really bad hand in the 70s and before, no problem. As long as they're preaching facts, I don't care if you are appropriating or not.
You can advocate for without saying you are.
Yeah, exactly.
That woman was looked at like she was insane because she said she was when she wasn't.
Yeah, she was purporting to be. And the American public does not like fakers. We don't like pseudo people.
Yeah.
And, the reason I know we're doomed is because we have more pseudo people than authentic people. And it's almost like we condemn the real people and we elevate and, celebrate the people who are just so effing fake that they're not even hiding it anymore. They have the confidence to bring their fakeness to the table, and we won't notice
because they can benefit by going that route, because they can say, I'm going to act like I'm buying all this and I'm bought in and I'm supportive and I'm advocating for, even if I don't feel this way, I'm going to act this way, because the moment you tell me that I'm wrong or I'm delusional or I'm whatever, I'm now going to call you a racist or a hater or a fascist or a bigot or you're the bad guy because you're calling me out on what I'm doing. And that's the game. That's their card, and they can play that card all day long because they have enough support with it.
Yeah, but it's bullshit. I can advocate for adopting a puppy from a shelter, right? And I am not an effing dog at all. I know. I just know, in my soul, that puppies should be adopted from.
If a white person went to Rachel Dolezal, whatever, and was like, listen, you can support the NAACP all you want, but stop saying you're African American if you're not. And they get called a racist for saying that to her.
Yeah, that's BS.
That's where we are.
Julie says, have you heard about the Sasha Riley story?
That name
OMFG. As a Democrat liberal, I don't want this to be true because I don't want to believe people like this exist. But there are shreds of evidence. The full story is on Substack. All right, I'm going to look it up because I have
Sasha Riley.
Sasha Riley. You keep talking. I'm going to Sasha Riley it.
I feel like that name kind of sounds familiar, but I don't know. As a Dem, she doesn't want it to be true, which has me intrigued. I don't know what else to talk about. I want to see what this is. Sasha Riley is the name currently going viral.
I'm going to pee.
Okay. The name currently going viral in connection with explosive, unverified allegations related to the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. Audio recordings of his purported testimony have spread rapidly. According to the widely circulated audio interviews, Riley describes himself as a decorated U.S. Army veteran who served in the Iraq War. He alleges he was a victim of child trafficking and extreme abuse from ages 9 to 13. claiming involvement in Jeffrey Epstein's network. The testimony includes extremely graphic and disturbing accusations of sexual abuse, torture, forced participation in child pornography, and even murders or snuff films. High-profile names are allegedly mentioned, including Donald Trump, Jim Jordan, Lindsey Graham, and others tied to political and Epstein circles. Riley reportedly states that he has provided testimony to authorities, including the House Oversight Committee, and is willing to take a lie detector test and was relocated outside the U.S. for safety. These recordings are described as raw, unedited, and multi-hour long, with some listeners, including self-described survivors, calling them credible and horrifying, while others point to inconsistencies, timeline issues, or questions the lack of mainstream media coverage and verification, which is interesting. Lack of mainstream media coverage verification. Yeah, unfortunately, I've not heard of Sasha Riley until just now, so clearly the name's not all over the news media. You kind of want to know why. I would think that at least the far left media, if names like Donald Trump were associated with this, they would be all over it, whereas the right-leaning media would want to quell this, but I'm not hearing it on either sides. It does say that it is not been confirmed. He alleges this happened around the late 1980s to 1990s. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know then. I don't know about that. Like I said, the media is clearly not all over this, which makes me question. So Riley, Army veteran, claims that he was horrifically abused. Horrifically. 1980s, 1990s time frame by Epstein, supposedly people like Trump, Lindsey Graham, things of that nature. And that he is actually out of the U.S. and hiding because of the graphic nature of the proof they have, the audio recordings and things like that.
Yes.
Some people are like, this simply isn't true, hence why you don't have a lot of coverage about it. I don't know. It is interesting, Julie says, as a Democrat liberal, I don't want this to be true. So, okay, so she's saying she doesn't want it to be true because it is so horrific that she doesn't want it to be true, even if it took down some Republicans. So I can agree with that, but.
Well, spoiler, there are hundreds, if not thousands of people who egregiously sexually assaulted people on Epstein Island. And all of them are still performing in their professional duties and will never be outed because the government is protecting them. They're so numerous, right?
Yeah.
That they will never be outed. So I don't want it to be true only for the fact, I want it to be true because I just want to get the truth. Who was involved? Put them in prison. Let's let people who don't assault young victims on Epstein Island to run the government. But as long as they're like, oh, like if we have 500 and whatever people in Congress, we would lose like 200 of them if anything else. That's bullshit, right?
Yeah.
It would be disruptive. We would have a consequence to pay. But the consequence is at least a true consequence where protecting them and in never indicting any of them is what's truly wrong with our society.
Do you find it at all interesting that we have the release of those pictures of Clinton swimming with them and it went nowhere?
No,
I mean, obviously there's pictures of like Trump hanging out with Epstein and there's all kinds of people that hung out with him on both sides. It's interesting. Only that one was released.
That's what's dirty about it because when it becomes a political weapon, you're not looking to get the entirety of the message. You're looking to get political points by bringing a small segment and saying Trump is involved or Clinton is involved. And the rest of us are like,
you're all involved.
There's thousands of people.
Yeah.
Like there are not two names on the list. So try harder, get deeper. And, you know, my big fear was they were going to release the Epstein list and it was going to be a bunch of unknowns were the only people that were indicted. And then all of the people who were knowns were protected. So as long as they can kind of go through there and redact things that they feel like redacting and claim the fact that there was, you know, implication for innocence in there, like they can just take liberties and insulate people from actual justice.
Yeah. How funny would it be if years from now we start to get more of this Epstein list because it's people who are now deceased? And then you're like, you sons of bitches.
Would you be surprised?
No.
Zero surprise.
No.
We know that's who's ruling us right now. And I have zero respect for the people. I don't know who it is, but I know it's most of you. And if it's most of you and you've not been indicted, you're being protected. That's why I trust none of you. Even if you're innocent, I'm not going to give you default trust because you could be part of a list that I would immediately put you in prison for.
Yeah, which is why when you see those pictures of Clinton, and again, the pictures are not of him doing anything illegal. It's simply placing him there. And most people would be like, oh, see, he was involved. But why only him? Where's the pictures of someone else swimming with Epstein? That's not a Democrat.
Here's an interesting one. Congress subpoenaed him to testify before them, and he was a no-show. So let's just say Kelin was said, okay, well, we got suspicions of you, and we're going to pull you in for a congressional, get your testimony, right?
Yeah.
And you were a no-show. You as average citizen, what would happen to you?
Probably be arrested.
Yes, you would be put in prison. Do you think that President Clinton, ex-President Clinton, is going to be hauled into prison because he didn't show up for a congressional testimony?
No. And I bet you he'll never do that testimony.
And Hillary Clinton is scheduled to testify today, and she may or may not. She is.
I didn't know that.
Yes. Yeah.
Ooh, when is that supposed to happen?
Today. I think 10 o'clock. I think it's happening right now.
Oh, we should pull up and see if it's going on.
Okay.
Let's pull up like whitehouse.gov, YouTube, CNN, Fox News, literally like anything should show it. Republicans say Clinton's risk contempt of Congress for not testifying on Epstein. They risk contempt of Congress for not showing up. What does that get you? Risking criminal charges. Ooh, because we've seen how that pans out. We've seen how much criminal charges matter when it comes to politicians. So it looks like nothing yet. Or else you would have like lives. Usually there's like live coverage.
Yeah.
At least on YouTube.
Anyway, so it looks like there is some special few that can decide that they are going to disregard a subpoena from the federal government.
Yeah.
And they don't go to prison.
Yeah.
Just keep that in mind. If you're ever subpoenaed for something, it's like, I can decide to go or not go.
Have we ever had a prominent figure go to prison?
That was subpoenaed? I think a couple of them. I want to say during the first Trump term, there were a couple people that were held in contempt, but nothing really happened. Like they're of an elite class that
they probably pay a fine.
Easily. He's charging $20 million for a freaking speech, right? It's not a fee that's going to keep them in line.
Yeah, I don't know of anyone that actually went to prison for anything.
But Congress will write a statement that will admonish you, right?
Yeah.
And that's the extent of it. You're not going to prison. You're not going to be forced in there. Sergeant at Arms isn't going to come and take you into custody. None of that happens because they are elite. So the people who hate the swamp hate the fact that there are people who are immune from punishment. And that's what we hate about government is there are people that are special.
You'll never drain the swamp. The swamp is them and they run it.
Carter said, instead of vaccines, we should make all politicians take sodium pentothal every freaking morning.
Does that work?
Allegedly.
Is that truth serum?
Truth serum, yeah.
How's it work?
Put him to a, put the sensors on their hands and do a truth detector.
Polygraph.
Right? Do a polygraph.
Yeah.
Just waterboard them. That would be phase 2. And sodium pentothal. And you will get a lot of good answers if they're under those circumstances.
Yeah, but they've got high power attorneys that can make all of that not matter.
Right.
There are ways you can cheat polygraphs. There are ways you can throw it. Yeah.
Delta bought into DEI and a woman pilot flipped a plane in Toronto and almost killed everyone. And that is the mathematical certainty that will happen. If I put my 5'10" white boys on the NBA court and you could say, hey, what would happen if I did that? If I took 70% of the complete roster of every NBA team and I forced them to put white boys on there, would the game change? Write down on a piece of paper and we'll put in an envelope what would happen. And we can roll it out and say, okay, here's what mathematically would happen. You got shorter people that can guard less, that can shoot less, that can be dominated by defenses less. All the white boys are going to do a lot of passing, and they're going to get into the possession of the black guys who are taller than them, stronger than them, and they're going to score, right? And then when it happens, you're like, how did you know? So I'm going to take a pilot who has to take, or we'll use military. We're going to take military that you have to do 40 push-ups and I have to do 100 push-ups. I have to do real push-ups. You have to do ones that you're on your freaking knees,
on my
right?
knees. It's the only ones I can do.
So who's going to be more capable in the field when it really matters? Me or you?
You.
I'm going to be. Why? Because I cooked the standards so that you would make it, and you are less than me when I'm actually in the field. Yeah. So I got you there, right? Yeah. You're not as capable as I am. Now, if you're like, F you, I'm doing the same ones that Joe is. I'm going to go not on my knees the full way. Now you're just qualified for the job. You're not like a qualified for the job with a little asterisk, right?
Yeah.
And so the same thing, Delta pilots, they bought into the pressure of politics. And they were like, yeah, it's really popular to put people who don't deserve to be there in the pilot seat. So when they flip a plane, like Carter said, it's like, oh, okay, how could that have happened? Oh, it's because they didn't have to do the same thing that their male counterparts did. And I wanted them there so much, I was willing to sacrifice the safety of the passengers to be able to do that. Charlie Kirk got a lot of criticism for saying, I don't want to walk in a plane, see a black guy in the pilot seat, and wonder whether or not he hit the same tests, he qualified the same way as a white person. That's not racist. That's you structure the game in such a way that now you have to wonder whether or not the person in front of you did the real push-ups or did the fake push-ups.
It's not racist. It's an observation based on the times we're living in. Like you said, if basketball suddenly was always in the news because of this DEI with the athletes, and we knew that a certain build, certain physical stature has proven time and time again to be elite and better at the game, and I walk into a game knowing already that now we have these new guidelines, and I see somebody that is the opposite of that stature, that is smaller. They look a lot different. You can't help but wonder, okay, is this because of the new guidelines, or is this dude really good?
70% of the players on the basketball team have to be white dudes that are under 5'10", right? Will you ever wonder whether or not that white dude is on the paint in the paint because of that rule? Or because he's just really that good. That was the point.
Yeah, you can wonder it and not be racist or anti-height.
Because now you know how they're positioning people on the court, and you will never know if they deserve to be there or not deserve to be there. But the race hustlers have really captured the attention of liberals who want to give more credence to the fact that it's absolutely racist, 100% chance, and not a merit thing.
Yeah. Let's see. Denise agrees. Hi, Denise. Julie says, did he campaign on ignoring the Constitution, ignoring the separation of powers, and a path of imperialism?
Okay, so those are arguments to be had, and I can probably spend an entire show thinking whether or not Trump likes the Constitution, or
ignores it.
Did he fill a position where he just followed precedents set by the people who were before him? And if you have due process, if you do something that's unconstitutional, it goes before the Supreme Court and they figure out if it's unconstitutional. So does he hate the Constitution and then he just do the same things that people before him have done? I feel like he saw the system and it was corrupt, and he did the turnabout is fair play thing. And it's unsettling when you watch the other person, the Republicans are about to take the filibuster, right? The zombie filibuster, and cast it away. What's the danger in that?
The zombie filibuster?
Yes. Do you know what the filibuster is? You know how it's used?
Sorta.
Okay. So when you're talking about a bill, all right, and you do all of both sides come to the podium and they say why they're for it, why they're against it. They discuss it for a period of time, and then they end discussion at a certain point.
Yeah.
Well, in order to have cloture and close out discussion about the bill and go to voting, it takes 2/3 of Congress in order to vote for that to close out discussion, right? And you could basically delay cloture, stopping of the discussion, by getting in front of the podium. You have an unlimited amount of time to open War and Peace and basically read it out. And this nuclear option. If you don't want something to happen, then the legislation doesn't go through and get voted upon, and you can delay it. And then everybody's like, okay, fine, use the nuclear option. So it takes somebody like Strom Thurmond, or what was the dude who just went up for like 12 hours or something like that? What's his name?
Oh, the guy that
Mr.
talked.
Potato Head. What's his name?
I can't think of his name, but I can picture him. You're talking about the one that talked for like 24 hours, or was it 12?
He went 12. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, it's an important tool in the arsenal that shouldn't really be used all that often. It's only when you're abusing some kind of majority and the minority has no other option, and you use that one so that we abandon this legislation. It should not be used every other day. Cory Booker. Yeah, okay. Cory Booker, Mr. Potato Head.
Mr. Potato Head.
Do you know why he's called Mr. Potato Head?
No.
It's the funnest moniker, maybe, for someone, because the dude is extremely animated, right? And they call him Mr. Potato Head because Mr. Potato Head, you can bring different eyes out, different mouths, and fix them on your face to like be outraged or be whatever. And this dude is so animated and expressive that it's noticeable when he goes into the different Mr. Potato Head modes. It's like they place new eyes on him. They place new expressions.
I have to start watching that.
Yeah, he's fun to watch.
How animated he is.
What were we talking about before, Mr.
Filibuster?
Oh, yeah. So the Republicans are like, we can't get this stuff done. We can't do rescission on budget items. We can't take executive orders and make them true legislation. And so what we're going to do is we're going to nuke the zombie filibuster. If you, as a Republican, ever leaned on the filibuster to show your true contempt for what was being discussed, and you use that as a tool, removing it when it advantages you, you're going to regret that in the future.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, I agree that maybe we should put some restraints on the filibuster so that it isn't abused. Like, it's almost like impeachment at this point. If you disagree with the other president, you just impeach him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're abusing your power of impeachment when you're using stuff that is not impeachable for the sake of a political strategy. Well, a filibuster is the same deal.
Why can't it work like a court where judges kind of have the power to be like, hey, get on with it. Make your point, or this is going nowhere. We're stopping this. Like,
do you not like my cigar smoking during the show, by the way? Is that
no, I'm actually getting used to it now.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like, why is it that in a court of law, the judge is sort of tasked with making sure you stay on task, but in our government proceedings, they're not?
Yeah. Sir, are you wasting time? Yes, I am wasting time. Okay, we're shutting down this thing. So some restraints on it so that it's not an abused tool in their disposal.
Yeah.
But you do not want to get rid of the full filibuster. It is an important, critical tool that's like the, you pull the fire alarm and it's behind glass. Like, you don't pull the fire alarm every 2 days.
Yeah.
What was that black dude who pulled the fire alarm?
I don't know.
And he was confused because he thought the fire alarm opened the doors for congressional. Yeah. Anyway.
What?
Yes, you don't remember that?
No.
Yeah, black dude wasn't down with what was being discussed in the halls, and so he went out into the hall and he pulled the fire alarm to disrupt what was happening, the hearings that were happening.
You would think that's illegal.
No, he said he thought it opened the doors. Well, you don't believe him? Are you a freaking racist?
God.
I think your bias.
Wow.
Your racism is showing through.
Do you ever play the game Catchphrase?
Yeah.
I love that game. And you're on a timer. You're passing it along. Your team has to guess the phrase you're doing. Have you ever seen someone come up with a super easy phrase? I know my team has got this, but I'm gonna think for a second. It sounds like and they stall on purpose, and you're like, I know what you're doing. I've caught people doing that all the time. You're purposely stalling because it's going beep, 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 beep. You're running out of time. Then you say what you know your team will get. They say it. You pass it. They lose because it buzzes on them. Is that not kind of like what filibuster's doing?
Sort of.
And how is that allowed? Like, what's the benefit of it? Obviously, it's a benefit for the people doing it. But why is this okay? I don't get what you said we need it. Why do we need it?
Procedurally, if you are in the minority and someone brings an outlandish something that is going to cripple your side.
When you say you're in the minority of people who feel a certain way.
Who were elected. So let's just say the Republicans have, 55% of the legislature. And they were like, I'm going to enslave all people named Kelin, right? And they can do it because they have 55%. And so if they get cloture, they get to a vote and they're going to win that Kelin, it gets put into an internment camp, right? And you're like, I cannot let this stand. This is something that the only reason they're doing this is because they have the majority. This does not have public support. This is completely off the reservation. I'm going to do a complete filibuster to make sure that this thing doesn't happen. It should be reserved for the most critical, worst things that the public servants can create in the legislature.
But can't that be subjective?
That's what it has become, where everything's a filibuster.
Yeah, everything is critical.
Right. And so they're abusing it. And so the Republicans are like, if we do something, they're just going to filibuster it. They're going to use the civil rights Strom Thurmond deal.
Yeah.
Right. In today's, and because they're abusing it, we got to limit it. So, but getting rid of it totally sucks. Limiting it so that it only kind of like does the thing, is the tool for how it was intended to be used. Limit it so that's not affected, but the abuse of it is affected.
Oh, that sounds dang near impossible to do. Kevin McCarthy, Jim Jordan, Andy Biggs, Mo Brooks, Scott Perry never showed up when subpoenaed.
That's exactly right. So it's almost like a subpoena has no weight. It's not serious because of the abuse of who we subpoenaed. Is it a political show where we're just trying to bring Clinton in to embarrass him and embarrass the Democrats? Or is it something that has implications of law enforcement where we need to get to the details of it? Well, politics has come to the point where it's more about the theater than it is about the law. And so I don't halfway, blame Clinton for not wanting to be part of a show trial where all the Republicans are going to gang up, just make him look as bad as possible so that he seems like he's the only one that's been at Epstein Island. So I'll agree with Julie, but this is sort of like the game lost when you F up the process so bad that nobody takes it serious or it really doesn't have any kind of teeth. I would probably blow it off too, knowing that nobody else is taking it serious. Why would I?
Peter Navarro and Steve Bannon both went to jail for contempt of Congress.
Okay, that is absolutely true.
Julie
said Cory Booker.
How long's the jail time, I wonder, for contempt of Congress?
I think Steve Bannon went away for 2 years.
Really?
Yeah.
And what were they? I know the name Steve Bannon.
So he is a really far right strategist. He worked with Republican administrations to kind of. He's not a great dude. He really isn't. He was involved in podcasting and a bunch of like fringe group Republicans, and he's a smart guy, like no doubt. But he is a very, I'm not going to call him evil, but he is very neutral on ethics and morals.
Oh, that's nice.
He's not a great dude. Not a big fan of his.
And who's Peter Navarro? I know that name too. Peter Navarro. I've heard that name. I only started paying attention to politics over the last year or so.
Okay. He's an American economist who's been senior counselor for trade and manufacturing for Donald Trump. I don't know much.
So both Republicans.
Both Republicans
are the only people that have gone to jail for contempt of Congress.
And pretty much the only people who have not shown up, right?
I don't know. Are they?
Probably not. I'm guessing not.
I'm sure not.
Jerry says nothing ever comes of congressional hearings. It's only a way to fill voided time to make it appear people are doing something.
Yep.
They have no teeth. They do nothing. Even like the Anthony Fauci. We're like, we all get bought in. We're like, we're going to bring Anthony Fauci in, and he's going to tell us how he's been involved in the corruption of pharmaceuticals and, national health, right?
Yeah.
And then he goes and testifies and says a bunch of things. You got Rand Paul and you got people pushing against him, and you're like, oh, he's going to effing jail. And he just walks away and like, okay, we did it. We did our hearing.
I mean, you could literally show up to your hearing and say nothing.
Yeah. I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth.
Or just
thank you for your testimony.
BS. Or don't even get, really? You don't have to try.
Do you know why that is?
Because they're not going to let you speak anyway.
Do you know why that is?
Why?
Because in civics class, I think 5th grade was where we all took civics, the branches of government and what the legislative are allowed to do. Okay. Now, so law enforcement, what branch of the government do they reside?
Law enforcement?
Yeah.
Would be the like legislative, judicial, and executive. Judicial?
Executive.
Executive. Wait.
Law enforcement's in the executive.
Okay.
Okay. So
I need to
they're
go back to class.
the verb part of this, right? If you want someone arrested or charged or imprisoned or indicted, the executive branch is what does this. This is where the FBI, the CIA, all of law enforcement resides. So to bring someone to the legislative, you can have a hearing and you can admonish them and you can say mean things to them, but they can't do any executive branch things within the legislative. They take the hearings and they hand them up to the executive branch and say, here's our findings. Now it's part of the Department of Justice. It takes the findings of a congressional hearing and does something about it. Pam Bondi is about as worthless as a nutsack on a sow, right?
I thought you were going to say on a girl.
And a girl, yes, on a girl. Nutsack on a girl. It's there, but it doesn't freaking do anything. All right. So Republicans are ever hopeful the Department of Justice are going to start making arrests and taking election fraud and taking corruption and welfare programs and, the COVID corruption and what else? But anyway, making some indictments, right? Mm-hmm. But you could see the nutsack on Bondi is not very impressive.
Well, and again, the whole reason that you could show up and absolutely still have it be pointless, like, look at RFK Jr., where all he did is be like, can you let me talk? Can I answer the question? You're just bulldozing him. Then Pam Bondi goes in there and every question for her, all she does is turn it around on the person who asked. Why would you ask me that when you did this and you did this?
Stupid theatrics.
Why are we here?
Yeah, that's why congressional hearings don't have the ability to turn around and get actual results, because then they have to be turned over by another bureaucracy to be able to take the hearings and make sense of them. And so they have to question, like, okay, we want these hearings. We want professionals to say things, right? And if all we do, as soon as they say stuff, we put everybody in jail, they're like, nobody's going to come to these testimonies because they really don't have to. Like, anyway, it blows my mind of how we've created a system of government that when it's in its simple form works extremely well. When we make it complicated and we make all lawyers, and as far as the eye can see, they know how to work the system and make sure that it is always at a screeching halt. The founders wanted everything to be at a screeching halt, right? So if you couldn't do things in Department A, then you really couldn't do things at Department B. So then governments, and this is where like NGOs is a perfect analogy for this. So the government's like, we can't do these things. So we'll invent something that's outside the government to do our bidding for us and do proxy corruption. We take the things we really want to do, but we're constrained by the Constitution, right? Mm-hmm. And we're going to have these guys do it. And then two things, it still gets done. And we can say, we didn't do it. It was the effing NGOs that did it. So the more, like, I use NGOs as sort of like just a metaphor. Anytime you have a limitation, either you respect the limitation or you try to end around the limitation. Government ends around more than they say, I'm a strict constitutionalist and I know why the Constitution said I can't do something. I'm going to accept the L and knowing that I should not be, delving into these areas. And I'm just going to let the proper people do it versus like Trump hates the Constitution. Right?
Yeah.
And just like everyone around him hates the Constitution, if you applied the same logic to everybody who's trying to make an end around to what the Constitution actually says. Just look at the Supreme Court from yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, if you get arrested for something and you have a day in court and you have a defense attorney and you're fighting it, do you hate law? You hate law. You hate doing the right thing. It's like, listen, we've literally set up an entire pathway of me being allowed legally to hire someone to fight this and get me off.
That's what attorneys do. They try to find a way to legally maneuver where you won't get in trouble, but you'll still get the same thing done. Even if you're looking at the Constitution and saying, that probably doesn't want me to do this. So either I'm going to respect what it wants me to do, or I'm going to try to run around it so that I can't get in trouble, but I can still get the thing done. That's freaking attorneys for you in a nutshell.
Yeah. 4 months. Carter says 4 months in jail for contempt of Congress. And is it a real jail or is it like a Martha Stewart jail?
What's the difference? You're deprived of your liberty.
I don't know. It doesn't sound like Martha Stewart jail really deprived you of much.
You were not allowed to do things in society. So did you watch the Mayor of Kingstown?
No, I've heard of it. I've never seen it though.
Good show. And it's sort of like as corrupt as you think things are is exactly what you see on the screen there. So it's a dude who basically maneuvers and keeps the different groups within a prison so that they're fighting as less as possible, right? And so they take a couple of the crypts, and there's different areas of the prison where you have your general population and you have your whole and you have segregated areas, and then you have the Martha Stewart wing, right? Basically an apartment. It's a jail cell, but it has a stove and it has a couch and it has some amenities.
Yeah.
So when you think of some of your mobsters from the past and they get these lavish jail cells, right? That's what you kind of picture. Like, I know if I went to jail, to prison, I'd be in general population or the whole because I'm a rebel, right? I would never get qualified for the lavish version of the apartment deal.
Yeah.
But you can picture Steve Bannon being segregated away and serving his time in something that was way different than your normal people. But that is an analogy with what the elites do. They get a version of punishment that is not the same. If you didn't show up for a congressional hearing, you go right to prison. If Bill Clinton doesn't show up for a hearing, he gets nothing. They're like, oh, he's a bad person for doing it, but there's no teeth in anything that would be done to him.
How about the fact that they have the ability to pardon people? Any one of us getting a pardon if we do something wrong? Absolutely not. But they can?
But the pardon power is also a very useful tool, yet abused.
Yeah.
You can see where a pardoning, if
someone's like, you got hosed in the name of being someone's
let's just say
child.
You are in the executive branch and you are a administrator in the Carter campaign, right? So your job is to do what your boss tells you to do. That's your job. Now, let's just say your boss is a nitwit and he breaks the law a lot and he tells you to do something that's illegal, right? And you don't know that it's illegal, but you're just doing what your boss told you to do. So you do what he tells you to do. You do it. It's illegal. You go to prison. Could you be pardoned knowing that you didn't break the law on your own? You only broke the law because you were connected to an administration who broke the law and you were just doing what you were told. I can see where a lot of people were put in compromising positions only because they were doing the duties of their job, and rather being immune from the consequences, you had to accept a pardon rather than just saying, hold my boss accountable for the wrongdoing. Don't hold me accountable. But then the boss is like, I didn't, it was Kelin, totally all Kelin. And now you go to jail only having done what your boss told you to do.
Do you think there should be pardons for people that broke the law doing something, and while they're serving time, what they did becomes legal? Like marijuana or something of that nature. If it's like, I got caught when it was illegal, and now after 1, 2, 3 years in jail, I'm not done with my sentence, it becomes legal and everybody can do it now.
I think it should enter into it, but you knew it was against the law when you did it, and you broke the law as it was written on the day, and the punishment isn't today, right? The punishment is when you broke it.
I mean, we have things like time served. We see that sometimes where because somebody was...
No, if you get out of prison and you do it today, then the new laws will apply to you. You knew what the laws were when you were breaking them. So the consideration would be, are you a dangerous person? Like if you went to, Leave the Beaver 1950s, right? You would be on the outside when you break the law, spray painting "I hate ICE" on somebody's fence, and there would be a punishment in 1950s. So it's like, that's not accepted. You're going to be ostracized from, our neighborhood because of what you did. Now you fast forward where everybody's painting "I hate ICE" on every deal. Like, should you be judged by today's court, by today's laws, or do we go historically and find a law that was before and lend previous law to you forward? You wouldn't like that. So why would you take future law and retroactively fit it to you. You wouldn't like that either.
Yeah.
You broke the law. You got a punishment. You're serving your time. Tomorrow's criminals will be following a different set of laws.
Still kind of sucks, though, don't you think? It would suck.
Can you, in principle, apply that across the board? So let's just say you're a 1950s convict, right?
Yeah.
You did something racial. The laws changed, right?
Yeah.
And now your prison term, right, is taking a law that existed in 1950 and bringing it to today's standards. And maybe we've loosened the law on racial crimes. Should you then, since we're more accepting to racial crimes, that just lets you out of prison because of today's law?
What did I do? How long did I serve?
Okay, so you burned a cross in someone's front yard, right? It was totally accepted. Everybody was doing it at the time, but it was illegal.
Yeah.
Right? Today, burning a cross in someone's front lawn is completely acceptable. You did it in an era where racism was rampant and you got a punishment, but today we don't really care about crosses burning in the front lawn. So today it's like, no, crosses are cool. You get out of prison.
I'm gonna do it again, probably.
Right. And now there's no punishment for it. So you were punished at the time as the law said. You knew what the law was. You broke it anyway. Regardless of what the law does going forward, you're still held accountable for the judge that you saw and the law that you faced at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. It's not like you should just get off scot-free. Like, how about women that knowingly send their kid to a school in a district they're not supposed to be at, and they get arrested? And then after serving some time, that school district has now open enrollment and anybody can come.
Yep.
Don't you think the prisoner's like, what the F? You're like, seriously?
Yeah. You get out of jail and you do the same thing and you're not put in prison.
Yeah.
It's whatever existed when you were punished is what still is there. Now, I think, like, as a libertarian, I think we incarcerate people for far too long. The punishments for incarceration are just like separating people from society rather than rehabbing them. There's no rehabbing that goes on in prison. Once you do that and you take someone's liberty and you get them used to being incarcerated, you ruin them for the rest of their life. There's only a few people who get out and don't go back to prison or don't continue to commit crime.
Like, if I'm in prison for burning crosses in someone's yard, is there any sort of counsel in prison hey, don't be an a-hole and do that? Or is it just, okay, you sat here long enough, go?
Yeah, it should be like the purpose of imprisonment. If you have offenders who are just dangerous to society, keep them there forever. Like, there should be two deals. Or somebody made a mistake, right? And so if in the 1980s, Nancy Reagan said that drugs fry your brain, right? And you shouldn't do drugs, and you really liked cocaine, right? And you like to do it, and it was totally illegal. And Nancy Reagan, who was a Supreme legislator, wanted you to go to prison for 30 years, hoping that I would tell you 30 years is going to be big enough that you would say, this cocaine addiction is not worth it. And you would throw away cocaine.
Or what it is making an example out of you, so no one else does it.
So, but now you're in prison for 30 years in 1980, right?
Yeah.
And an observer, just a reasonable person coming into it, Kelin going to her living room, watching Teletubbies and doing her cocaine, put nobody in peril. Technically, she can go to jail for 30 years or prison for 30 years, but that's not a suited punishment for what it is she was doing. And a reasonable jury and a judge is going to say, yes, 30 years was it, but she was in her living room. She loved the Teletubbies. She was only affecting herself. Let's give her 1 year as a slap on the wrist. Let her know that we were serious about it. We're not going to apply. We're allowed.
Make her complete some DARE programs.
Right. But if we're in a political climate where we need to make an example out of you, like Derek Chauvin is an extreme example of what a person that wasn't entirely innocent, that is serving a sentence that's way beyond what is reasonable for the sake of politics. I think that's a travesty. And the only way you would feel it's a travesty if it were you in prison and you're like, dude, I smoked weed. Do I really need to sacrifice 10 years of my life for smoking weed? It's a travesty, and it's not teaching me anything. It's making me hate the protocols of society and knowing that people will technically be punished for something. And sometimes they'll take it to the full letter of the law. And sometimes they'll be like, oh, what did you do? I ran my car into an ICE vehicle. Okay, well, you got arrested and you got sent here. You've served your 24 hours. Now you're released, right? You see that, and the 24-hour release is for something that you're serving 25 to life in prison for. And you're like, there's no justice or fairness in this equation.
Julie says we are now at the point where you can be arrested for intent to break laws. Do we have an example of that?
Yeah, give me that example, because I've never had.
Okay. What's an example, Julie? Intent to break a law.
Here's one. I saw this, and it is illegal to threaten to kill law enforcement. So if I said, Sheriff Peters, if I ever saw you, I'd rip out your heart and piss on your ashes, right?
Mm-hmm.
I am threatening your life. So Judge Peters comes up to you and says, hey, I saw that you wanted to take my life. You're now being arrested. You didn't bring out a weapon. The only thing you did was breaking the law by threatening to kill me.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're being imprisoned. That might be what Julie said, was I intended to kill you, but I never killed you. You shouldn't be put in prison because you hadn't done it yet.
I've heard of things like intent to sell, people getting busted with drugs, which is one thing, but selling it is another. Well, if you're busted with drugs and they're all conveniently packaged up in little sellable sizes, intent to sell, I've heard of that.
All right, what if I go on social media right now and I find a 14-year-old girl that I want to have sexual relations with? Never had sexual relations with her, but I had condoms in my car. I came to the house. I haven't done anything with this girl, but I'm arrested for the intent to have sex with a minor.
Yeah.
I hate that I used myself as that example.
Gross.
Totally gross.
You better hope YouTube doesn't.
Oh.
YouTube is going to cut that.
But intent crimes can be prosecuted, and reasonable people would say, if Bob Smith, not me, bought condoms, had conversations with, traveled 4 hours for, met with a 14-year-old girl, he had intent to do the crime, and we have enough evidence to say that would have happened had I not been here to stop it.
Julie says, read the DOJ NSPM-7.
You were making me look up so much. MSPM-7?
DOJ NSPM-7 seeks to domestic terrorism, heinous assassinations, and other acts of political violence.
Okay, so let's talk about that. At what point does rhetoric become something actionable?
A threat.
Right.
Spouting off at the mouth, legitimate threats.
Yeah. Kelin, after the show today, I am going to kill you, right? You as the victim of said crime, you want there to be delineation, right? Between when I say the thing and you're like, is he joking? Is he just being rhetorical? Is he serious about it? You want to be protected by a red line with how serious something is. So if you saw me before the show ended, start putting together disaster weapons, right?
Yeah.
Weapons of decommission. Like, you see these words, like, I'm trying to not use the other words so bad. If you see me start adding other things into the case, right, you would know the seriousness goes to a certain level.
Maybe you're even continuing to make comments like, oh, hey, Joe, I'm going to go to lunch later. No, you won't. Shh.
There's a point where it goes from rhetoric that is unserious to something that should be actionable. And I think, law has to really tread lightly, because when you have that gray area, you can construct a situation where you can make more in the motive. Like if I said something just jokingly, if you took it seriously and I got put in prison, and you're going to prove that I was more serious than I was, and I'm going to try to prove that I was less serious than I was. Now we have a true gray area that who's freaking right. And then you take reasonable people and say, did I do the thing? Right. And the argument is like, I may have taken my machete and put it in my deal, but you can't be concerned about that. There's plenty of other uses for a machete. I said that I was going to kill you, but the machete in me doesn't make it so that I was going to do it. You have to wait until I bring the machete up and traveling towards you to charge me with the death of Kelin. A little too late by that point.
Yeah, isn't it illegal to brandish a weapon at someone?
Yeah, like a car that you point the tires towards someone, or like and hit the gas. Yes.
Yeah, or if you're out somewhere and you start road rage or fighting or yelling and you show someone a gun, you didn't shoot them, you didn't use it, but that act, I think, is illegal.
For sure.
So technically that's being threatening, even though you've not harmed them.
Right. But it should be taken about by reasonable people to figure out what that line is and when you go over the line. So let's just say Bob was talking to that 14-year-old girl online. He hasn't committed a crime at that point yet because he hasn't made any actions that say it was a serious thing, right? Now, does Bob deserve to go to jail if he's even trying to talk to a 14-year-old girl? Making sexually explicit things? We've decided when that line is crossed. If he's talking to, probably not actionable. If he starts saying certain things during that thing, now it becomes actionable. And even though he didn't travel, he didn't have condoms, he didn't show up at the house, there's still a law that was broken because he pierced it and he went beyond what is reasonable.
I keep thinking of this video I actually saw yesterday. I don't know who the guys were. It must have just been on a feed. These two guys with their cameras show up to someone's house and they're like, hey, you so-and-so? Yeah. They're like, well, I'm whatever. The supposed 14-year-old girl you've been talking to online that you wanted to send pictures to you, naked pictures and all this and that. Guess what? It was me the whole time. And this is not a police officer. This is a private company doing this. And he's like, no, I didn't. Obviously denying. And he's like, oh, you didn't say blah, blah, blah. Is this your screen name? I didn't talk to anyone. He's like, listen, here's what we do. We call the police on people unless they admit it. If you're going to lie to us and you're going to stand here and continue to say it wasn't you when we know it was, we're going to call the police. But if you admit it now, we can go another route. And this guy's just like, Could a defense attorney not be like, are you shitting me? You just told him, say this or else. And now this guy, who maybe was being a complete and total sicko, is going to probably get off because of what you just did. So everything is sort of this like dance, this game, this...
Better stated, a pendulum. We are always going to pull ourselves back to lawlessness where we're under sort of like under applying law. And then when you do that and you pull it back too far, it swings back to the other side where now we're over applying the law. And the goal is to get it as centered as possible. So the minute that you try to pull it back further because of political advantage or whatever, you are making it worse on the other side. And every time you do it, you have to be knowing that you are doing that. You are contributing to making it go in the other direction worse than it has to be.
Julie says DOJ can now determine who is classified as domestic terrorist for a variety of activities. If I say I am Antifa because I am anti-fascist, I can be determined to be a domestic terrorist.
Correct.
Some people believe Antifa is a terrorist group. Do they not?
Antifa are a domestic terrorist group.
Yeah. So they wouldn't be accusing you of being a domestic terrorist because you're anti-fascist. They're accusing you of it because you say you are part of a terrorist organization.
Yes. That's pretty cut and dry.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you
would have to believe Antifa's not a terrorist organization.
So if there's an organization, right, that knows what the law is and compliant with the standards to be that organization, you can throw your support behind someone who follows the rules, and then you too are an extension of rule followers. Or you can take somebody who doesn't follow the rules, are completely illegal, and uses terror to be activists for a certain cause. You throw their support behind somebody who is a terrorist group, and you too become a terrorist. So it'd almost be like, okay, the Ku Klux Klan. We haven't said that word in forever because the Ku Klux Klan, I don't know if they even have active chapters anymore, right? So the Ku Klux Klan, they decide that as a group, They are either going to be a compliant group where they legally advocate for white supremacy. They don't break any laws. They don't put themselves in peril and whatever. Or the KKK, that they don't care about the rules or laws. And they kill people, they lynch people, they burn crosses in people's front yards. If they are a non-lawful group, which they were in the 60s and before, then they are a terrorist organization. Mm-hmm. If they're like, hey, this law or, this thing following the laws, and they make themselves so they follow every letter of the law. They get permits when they have things. They don't have really, reasonable views or popular views, but they stay within the letter of the law. Now they've become a group. So could Antifa in the future become a legitimate activist group that follows the laws and are compliant with rules and regulations? Sure. But right now they are not that. They burn buildings. They cause riots. They light stuff on fire. They cause chaos. So if you say you're Antifa and you match the profile of someone who's Antifa, so if you found out that right now, let's go back in the 50s, mm-hmm. and KKK is a non-rule following group. They are a terrorist organization, and I profiled myself as someone who was very close to being KKK. I believe the same things. I went to the same messaging groups. I went to the same kind of meetings. I didn't do anything, right? Would I be profiled as a racist as part of the terrorist group? Yes, there's a line that I would cross where there's really no distinction between the KKK and Bob Smith or Joe Danyi at the time.
Yeah, if you see someone posting about, talking about, and coveting ideology of ISIS, and they're like, I'm pro-ISIS, I'm joining ISIS, you're going to be on a radar
for sure
that you wouldn't be on if you didn't say those things, even if you have not yet conducted any crime.
Okay, let's do a quiz here. And this is how you know you're a terrorist or not. Is Kelin a terrorist? I'm calling this game.
Am I a terrorist? Let's play.
So we'll start easy.
Okay.
Kelin sets up a bake sale and sells cookies to give to people, groups that advocate on her behalf. Are you a terrorist?
No.
Okay. Do you set cars on fire?
Do I?
No. Does that make you a terrorist?
Oh, if I set cars on fire?
Are you a terrorist?
Getting closer. I'm an arsonist.
Okay. In the name of your group, if you set cars on fire, you're very close to being a terrorist, right?
Yeah.
It's easy. If you read literature on the principles of someone who believes in X.
That's all I did is read the literature.
Read the literature.
No.
Okay. Blowing up a building. Are you a terrorist?
Yes.
Okay. If you then take a megaphone and say, I believe XYZ, are you a terrorist?
No.
Okay. If you say, I wish X would be dead, are you a terrorist?
No.
It's pretty easy to be able to distinguish when you've crossed the line. If you believe someone should die, if there should be chaos, if someone should be in prison, if you're threatening another person through your activities, rather than taking a philosophy and letting someone else know what your philosophy is and why yours is better than theirs, then you're just advocating.
But if you are reading about a terrorist organization, publicly stating I agree with the terrorist organization, and maybe forming a little fundraiser like the cookies for an organization, don't be surprised if you're on the government's radar.
So if I did this, tell me where you think the FBI should intervene.
Okay.
I go to the library and I take out the anarchist cookbook.
Okay. No.
FBI, yay or nay?
No.
Not even on the radar? Not even looking at me? Do you know what the anarchist cookbook is, by the way?
I've heard of it.
Okay.
I don't know much about it. I've just heard of it. In a time of civil unrest versus not, it may raise a little red flag.
Okay. You want to look at somebody. You don't want to put him in prison for taking out the anarchist cookbook.
No, I might just be like, noted.
Okay. Now, anarchist cookbook, and I place an order for some chemicals.
Now there's more red flags.
Radar?
Yep. Definitely on my radar.
Yet, or just looking at me?
Just watching you.
Okay. So I have the anarchist cookbook. I buy some nitroglycerin, and I book a ticket to Atlanta, Georgia. Looking at me, imprisoning me, arresting me. Have I crossed any lines yet?
Probably not arresting, but possibly questioning. But
okay, so you would stop me at that point and find out why I did those 3 things. Just get an idea.
Yeah.
Should you detain me and have a little conversation with me?
Maybe.
Okay. Now I have the Anarchist Cookbook. I bought nitroglycerin. I booked a trip to Atlanta, and I rent a van.
I'm questioning you.
Heavier questioning than before?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm bringing you in for questioning. Bring your attorney if you want.
Okay.
But I'm letting you know.
Anarchist Cookbook, nitroglycerin, booked a trip to Atlanta, rented a van, and put a statement out on social media about government. Manifesto.
What about government?
Oh, that I hate them and I think they should be gone. And what I'm about to do is rational and I believe in my plight.
I'm arresting you.
I'm arrested at that point.
You just said you're about to do something. I hate the government, and what I'm
but
about to do
it could just be
is
my imagination. It could be a creative expression of how I feel. You don't know that I'm going to actually do it, even though I bought the cookbook. I did nitroglycerin. I've got the Atlanta ticket. I've got the rental van and the manifesto. You're making a lot of presumptions.
I'm arresting you. Get an attorney if you want to fight it.
I'm arrested. I didn't even do anything yet. Do you not think that's unfair?
You've not been thrown in jail. You're brought in.
You arrested me. You're totally going to put me in prison.
You're
for what
arrested,
you think I'm
and
gonna
we're
do.
going to question you
I've
some more now.
got a great explanation about what happens next. That's not what you think.
Okay. What's the next step?
It's not good. The next step is not good, and I'm not even going to articulate it, but it's everything you'd expect.
Would you have arrested you by now?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
just wanted to point out how unfair you and I are to really taking suspected Antifa anarchists and throwing them in prison because of what you thought they were going to do.
I mean, this is like if, God forbid, a sick sadistic person goes and shoots up a school and the parents are like, oh, well, you know, he was pretty emo and he stayed in his room a lot and did drawings about killing people. And then he had this really dark notebook that he, you know, said a lot of concerning things in, and he was kind of antisocial. And then all of a sudden he got real interested in target practice. The parents are arrested and in trouble.
At least talk to.
At least
talk.
At least.
Brian says the TV series that documents on organizations working with law enforcement to expose online child sex abusers is called Undercover Underage. The show follows Rue Powell, a child advocate and founder of the nonprofit organization SOCIA, Safe from Online Sex Abuse.
Yes. That's what he said.
And her team, in each episode, the team creates a detailed, age-appropriate online persona to interact with potential predators in chat rooms and messaging. Powell, a mother of 3 in her late 30s, often passes as a teenager.
I saw those people online because some protesters were getting in their way because they thought they were ICE. And they're like, we're here to protect kids from sexual abuse online. And they're like, whatever. I don't know if that was the guy I saw, but I have seen.
Yeah, and we figured it out with sex trafficking and sexual abuse cases, but we haven't for Antifa. Like how quickly you can make contact with a sting operation for someone who hates capitalism, wants to kill people, and how you can draw them into something only to have Chris Hansen saying, have a seat here. You have multiple cocktails in your pocket, do you not? And then put people in prison before they had a chance to act on it and incite other people into things that they are unlikely to do. But it's only the group of anarchists that get together that foment that and then make it real, where, you know, you have these paid protesters that come to town and they get reasonable people fired up and they know exactly what to say to get people to break windows that without them would have never broken those freaking windows. So those inciters are a danger to the rest of us because they are part of the KKK and they just need people who are mind numb to get impassioned about something. So they go and break the rules.
Yeah. Julie says, was Renee Good a domestic terrorist? Trump says she was. With Renee Good, and I don't know this, I would have to look and see. I've heard of a lot of accusations, and we all know accusations aren't always true. But if she actually did do some of these things that people are accusing her of, looking up things online, taking classes about how to fight ICE, gathering information and sharing information about getting in ICE's way, how to foil an ICE operation, how to whatever. If she truly was looking into ways in which she can insert herself or any of these groups to break the law, here's where we're like, I'm questioning you. I may be looking into what you're doing. I think Trump maybe is sort of taking that information and just calling it, yep, domestic terrorist. I don't know exactly what she was looking at, but the little bits and pieces I'm hearing are red flags.
Let's use an unemotional comparison. Ghislaine Maxwell, right? Did Ghislaine Maxwell abuse any girls?
Physically?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. She was a facilitator. She provided the logistics for something to occur. So Ghislaine went to prison because she was a complicit in an operation that did bad things. She herself did not abuse girls. So if you are like, you're an agitator.
One victim said she was involved, but go on.
Using it as an example.
Yeah.
So if you are complicit in an illegal operation where obstruction of federal officers are, they're have a job to do, and you're obstructing them is an illegal matter, and then you give away ICE locations, you obstruct them by pulling in front of them, you are a participant in law breaking. That is, if it's considered that people getting in the way of federal enforcement are terrorists, who would get in front, like if you had a anti-opium agency, the cartels would have a problem with that, and they would want to get away in enforcement investigation of opium, of the DEA, and anybody who would be involved in getting in the way of the federal operations to end something is complicit in the terrorism. And I would consider a cartel's involvement in obstruction of DEA the same way that Good got involved in obstructing federal immigration, regardless how you felt about it. If you feel about it where you post on a message board that I don't like the fact that illegal immigrants are setting back to their home thing, fine. You're just advocating through words. You're not haven't done anything illegal. But the minute that you go from doing passive expression of your views to active obstructing investigation, you now are a terrorist, because the illegal act of bringing illegal people into this country for trafficking, drugs, sex, labor, whatever it is, it's an illegal action, and you're complicit in it now.
Yeah. She had said something. Ooh, we're almost out of time. Someone better be watching very close if they are not arresting. Trump is twisting the facts to fit his narrative, just as the other side is twisting the facts to fit theirs. If you want the truth, just read in the middle of each narrative. And she was convicted of direct participation as well as trafficking.
There you go.
Direct participation.
Are we talking about Good, or are we talking about someone else?
Maxwell was convicted of direct participation as well as trafficking.
Right. Directly participating, obstructing federal ICE operations. She was a participant. But
Renee Good was directly participating.
So yes, I do consider her a domestic terrorist.
At what point do you cross the line when you fight back against laws that are unjust? Fight back against laws that are unjust can be done in many ways. That is not what happened.
Yeah. Cannot be justified. All right, we got to get out of here. Thanks, everyone. We'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. This is original Youngstown content. Feel free to share our videos and tell your friends about us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.